Good. And I have another question to ask you before I start with the general information on the subject. How many of you are attending the degree program in civil engineering? Raise your hand, please. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, how many from ERE, Earth Resources? Okay, how many Erasmus students? Okay, I think the panorama is completed. Okay, good. Now I introduce myself, okay, and then I will move forward with the information. I am a professor of hydrology and water resources management and also hydraulic works here. And I also teach, besides this subject, I also teach 2 courses in Italian and the master degree program in environmental engineering. And my subjects there are hydraulic works and water resources management. My background is civil engineering. I am what in Italian is called an hydraulic engineer, because my degree was taken, I took my degree in 1992, and environmental engineering didn't exist at that time in Italy. And I took my degree in civil engineering, but the branch was hydraulic engineering. And therefore, after my degree, by chance, I decided to take a PhD in hydrology. Basically stochastic hydrology in Milan. And then I moved to Milan, where I realized that the academia was not my working place. But then I changed my mind, because at the end of the PhD, I realized that my feeling was not that the academia was not my working place. My feeling was that Milan was not my working place. So, because I live in, I am originally from Reggio Emilia, it's a small city located close to Bologna, and I still live there. I am a commuter. And then at the end of the PhD, by chance again, because you know, this is a bit of philosophy. Everything in my life happened by chance, and I think for everybody is more or less the same. Of course, we have to have chance, but so by chance I had an opportunity to get a position here. It was a position in Italian is called, it doesn't exist anymore, ricercatore, which means assistant professor. And then I started working with Professor Brat, who is still teaching here. And then that's it. And my main employment, because you know there are different types of professors, and because teaching is not our only job. You may say unfortunately, somebody else may say fortunately, but we are required by, let's say, by duty to make other things besides teaching. And therefore some people do profession, like professional design, and therefore some people choose the half-time position for teaching, because the half-time position allows them to make individual activity as professional engineers. Other people decide to make research. Research is required by, let's say, by law, meaning that we are obliged to make some research. Of course, we could even skip this, but our career is evaluated basing mainly on research achievements. So in the Italian system now, basically our career advances basing on the, again, research achievements. And only recently, in the Italian system, they started to evaluate also the teaching activity and other issues, like the capacity of to attract funds, etc. But still, the main evaluation is carried out through research achievement, which means that research is, let's say, compulsory for Italian professors. And in my case, I decided to dedicate my full activity besides teaching to research. So I'm not a professional engineer, even if sometimes I have the opportunity to participate and to make some professional experiences, but they are very limited. I am a full-time professor with a very limited professional experience, and as I said, I'm dedicating my extra time besides teaching to research. This is important for you to know, because these different types of professors have very different behavior. So a professional can teach you better how to make the practical design, of course, because he, she has a long experience in that. A researcher is not as good in practical design, but of course it should be very prepared on the recent developments and should be able also to explain to you what are the modern research fields that are more popular and emerging. So it's a different kind of experience that you can get, you can borrow, let's say, from these professors. And I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. I just would like to say that they are different. So what you can expect from me now, you know. So I'm basically making research in hydrology, even if I also study a lot of hydraulic works and river management. My main research field is basically hydrology. And some also on water resources management, but again, basically hydrology. And if I wanted to be more detailed, I would say that I am a surface hydrologist. So I'm more expert in the processes that we will study during the subject that occur over the ground rather than underground. Okay, given that I am mainly a researcher, I have, unfortunately or fortunately, one may say, the problem that I travel very often, and therefore, for this reason, my schedule in this course is a bit atypical, because you may have noticed that we have in the calendar 8 hours per week, which means that they are too many, because we usually, a course with 6 credits, I will speak later on the other 6, because for some of you this course is integrated with coastal engineering. And for 6 credits, usually a course has 5 hours per week, and they are already more than necessary in the second semester. I have 8 hours because I needed some flexibility, because I'm traveling quite quickly. So this is for you a bit of a problem, because it means that you can just look at the timetable and see, okay, this is the teaching hours. You have to look at my personal timetable that now I'm showing to you, because today I made an effort to make a plan, because of course I'm not teaching 8 hours per week until June, because I could totalize like 100 hours, and I have to teach for 60, and I have to close I am required to close at 60 or 55, let's say. And so I made a plan to try to cancel all the weeks where I'm traveling, and I got a calendar that I can show you, which is available, okay, it is up here, on my website already. And it's not necessary that you take a note, because on my website, here, you see that I already put, let me see if I can get the mouse visible, because I still have the problem that, let me see. It's probably here, okay. You see that in the front page of my website, you see in the highlights, this is Italian, sorry, let me move to English. But it doesn't matter, because you can go to my English version of the website by clicking on the English flag. But still, this is the Italian version, but it's written in English in this case, so I can refer to this. You see that in the highlights, I have the new page of the supporting material for this course. And it's now in the highlight. In a week or so, I will remove it from the highlights, and it will move here under teaching activity. In the English version, it's called teaching activity. Let me shift to the English version because it's much better. It will shift here under teaching activity. So under teaching activity, in the top, you will see this. You see there are many entries. The top entry will be the page dedicated to this course, which now I am opening, because by clicking here, you get to the page of the course, and there are a lot of things. Let me start from the beginning. First, the calendar, I said. Let me show you. It is downloadable here by clicking here, and so let's click there. You see is the list of the days when I'm teaching. You see that there are some dates, some periods when I'm not teaching much. This week I'm planning to teach 8 hours. Next week I'm teaching just the 3 of March, which is Monday, and then I can't teach on Thursday and Friday. And then you see there are some gaps, especially in April. You see in April I'm teaching until April 4th, and then April 7, April 14, and then 5th of May. If everything goes as it's planned here, I will close the course at about May 15. Of course, this is the schedule based on my commitments that I know now. Something could change. And basically changing meaning that maybe that in some cases I have other commitments, because as you know I am also coordinator of the master degree program, so sometimes I have other commitments. So let's say that we could shift a bit later, but I don't think we will go after May 23rd, more or less. So this is my plan, if you agree. So basically I will try to teach 8 hours per week when I am available, in order to, first of all, being able to recover the hours in the weeks where I cannot teach, and second, to finish early than June 4, June 5, which is the official date of the closure of the course. And I will also be willing to schedule an exam soon after I finish the lectures. I will provide you more details later on this. So this is my calendar. Again, it is available for download, so you can take a look. And as I said, don't assume that this is confirmed for sure. It's quite confirmed, let's say. I would say that 95% I will teach in these days. Okay? Let me go back to here. Okay, what there is written here also, some modifications, I'm missing a plural here, sorry, will be possible that will be communicated to the students directly, meaning that every week I will tell you if next week the schedule is confirmed. And also I use, for communicating with the student, Twitter, which I find it's very handy, because Twitter has a great advantage that I can use the SMS to send a communication, and also Twitter is handy because you can receive the SMS on your mobile phone. So I'm not sure if you are a fan of Twitter or not. Usually I'm not a fan of social networks, I'm not in Facebook, but in Twitter I found that to communicate with the students is very useful for me. And basically I use Twitter very rarely. If you look at my Twitter page, which is here, I communicate with the student very rarely, but it's useful for me. I hope it works, because you know the network inside the university sometimes doesn't work. It's useful for me also for another reason, because I am a commuter, and sometimes, especially early in the morning, like on Friday and on Thursday, I might be late for the train, for the delays of the trains. So it's very useful for me to be able, if I am on the train stuck in the middle of, you know, of nothing, to send an SMS and say, look, I'm sorry, I am half an hour late. And this is my page, and you see that I sent a message on November 25 and then November 20. So you see that I'm not overloading your phone by SMS. So maybe that I will send about 4 or 5 in this month. So you can avoid it if you want. And instead, if you would like to take advantage from this opportunity and you are not a Twitter user, it's very easy to subscribe. And you just have to go to twitter.com, and then it's very easy to subscribe, and then you have to subscribe as my follower. And yeah, I'm not collecting many followers, I only have 20. But anyway, you have to subscribe as my follower, and this allows you to get the SMS if you want on your phone, directly on your phone when I send messages. Sometimes it happened to me also to, I'm sorry, I can't scroll down, but sometimes I use Twitter also for providing information. Providing information like there is a job opportunity that is very urgent, and then I use Twitter. Sometimes it happens to me that I get contacted by a company who says, by tomorrow I need the name of of our student in order to make some internship, and then if it is very urgent, I use Twitter. So, you know, I don't think you're missing much if you don't subscribe, but anyway, this is an opportunity. Okay? And before I forget, sorry, you are informed that on Thursday we have an happy hour for the students of civil engineering. No, nobody told you? Okay. Okay, let me, before I forget, sorry, this is a parenthesis, and I forgot downstairs, we prepared also some sheets. On Thursday at 5 o'clock, room 2.7b, there is an happy hour, I come to your question, for the students of civil engineering. You are supposed to have a lecture on Thursday at 5 o'clock, but I took an agreement with Professor Lamberti, some of you are supposed to have a lecture, and he's stopping the lectures at 5 o'clock. So room 2.7b, there is an happy hour, which is basically, we took some food, some refreshments, and we are giving a 10 minutes presentation just to say hello by me and by Professor Bertini, who is the director head of the department. And then we will present the new Facebook page of our international degree programs, 10 minutes, no more. And then it's an opportunity to bring something together, to eat something, and it's an opportunity for you to get together with hopefully a large number of professors if you have questions, also related to the study plan, whatever. You are allowed to speak of academics during the happy hour. It's better if not, but if you are allowed to. And we really would like that you attend, and the invitation is extended to the students of environmental engineering and to the Erasmus students. Environmental engineering in English, ERE. We cannot extend to the students of the degree programs in Italian because we planned 100 persons and we cannot take more. So please, again, Thursday, next Thursday, 5 o'clock, 2.7b, and spread the voice, please. For international students, meaning students attending the international degree programs and Erasmus students. Spread the voice. Just for Erasmus students of civil engineering and environmental engineering. That's clear? Do you have any question on this? Okay. And if you want, I have some sheets downstairs, but there is just written the date, the time, and the room. Nothing more. It will take about 1 hour and a half. But again, it's an opportunity to speak with the professors. Okay, I'm back. Twitter is fine. And now let me go back to the page, because this is, looking at this page, it's an opportunity for me to speak about the supporting material, supporting documents. First of all, the videos. Here you see the YouTube icon. I usually take videos of my lectures and immediately I put the videos on YouTube. Immediately for me means maximum 2 days, depending on my travels, etc. So please don't write to me an email after half an hour saying there is no lecture on YouTube. Wait a couple of days, because it happens, I tell you, sometimes it happened to me. So just wait a couple of days, but after 2 days, if you don't see the videos, maybe that I forgot something, I missed something, so please write to me. And basically, I don't post-process the videos. So I just take the card from the camera, I plug the card in the PC, and I upload them. So, which means that, of course, the videos can be mistaken, because every professor, and in particular me, make mistakes. So, it's different to refer to a book or, let's say, notes prepared by the professor. It's a different thing with respect to referring to a video, because in the video, as I said, it's not post-processed, and you have to take the information from the video in a different way with respect to the information that you get from a book, because it's not reviewed, okay? So I am sure that my videos contain some mistakes. And sometimes it's useful for me because the student point out the mistakes. Afterward, they look at the video and say, look, this relationship, it seems mistaken to me. And therefore, I may correct, not the video, I may correct my wording in the next lecture. So sometimes this happens. So the next lecture, it happens that I come in and I say, look, last time I made a mistake. And I correct what I did. So basically, when you look at a video, again, take this information critically. Okay? But I think it is very useful. It was an experiment that I made 2 years ago, and I saw that the statistics of the downloads are amazing. The videos are downloaded a lot of times, and you will see, if you go on my YouTube page, you will see the statistics. It's amazing. So I realized that it's indeed a good service that I can provide to you. Of course, you know, it's not easy at the end of the course to look at 60 hours of videos. So it's an information that helps you if you have to find a clarification, to find, and usually the information in my YouTube page is very well ordered, and very well, let me say, I shouldn't say that, let's say, I make an effort to order it, so it's easy to manage how to find the video. I'm not clicking now because it's too slow, but you can try, and then if you have some problems in finding the video, you can refer to me. So, and it's mentioned here, this link here brings you directly to the playlist of this subject for this year, which is still empty. So if you click there now, of course, let me try, you don't get any entry so far. Let's see if it is enough quick. Let's let it work and then it will come. And besides the videos, you have seen that there is in the page a list of documents. These are the documents, typically PowerPoint presentation, that I use during my lectures. So if I use a PowerPoint presentation, or whatever kind of document that I use to support my lectures is made available to you. If you don't find something, it means that I forgot. So you have to ask me. Everything that I show you should be available on that page. And the list that you see now, it's simply copied from the past year. It is written in my page. If you go here, there is written, let's say, instruction for guidelines for using the material. There is written, copied from the past year list, and will be continuously updated as lectures go on. So, I recommend to you to periodically check this page. You shouldn't now download all these documents and think that you are done. This is not what you should do, because this is simply the list that I copied, as I said, from last year, but it will be updated because this year I will make some changes. You see, it's a long list. And also, you have to listen to me, because not all these documents are indispensable for you. They are all useful, but some of these documents are placed here just to provide a background information. And usually, for some of these documents, treat subjects that I don't ask in the final examination. This is some more in some cases. So you have to listen to me, and I will explain every time, look, this is a document that you can download, but it's not necessary, or you can download it if you want to make a thesis on this, etc. And as I said, it will be updated, and therefore don't forget to check periodically this web page. Now, I don't have a book to suggest to you, because you know, hydrology, and especially this subject, is evolving and is very specific. And if I had to suggest a book to you, I would have to suggest like 3 or 4 of them. And I don't think it's the best way for you to study this subject if I just suggest some books. I will give you an indication of one book, just one which I believe is interesting and could stay in your personal library. But I'm not saying that there is one book that I am strictly following when I teach, because, as I said, it's a subject that is evolving, and especially for water resources management, this is really a problem, because there is nothing written in forms of a book that is recent enough. For hydrology, there is a lot of information. For water resources management, is more fragmented. So, this is the reason why I would prefer not to suggest a book. I don't have a suggestion for you on this. And also, I'm sorry to report that I didn't write any note that is more organized with respect to what you can find here, because these are PowerPoint presentation, external papers. But of course, the ideal situation for you would be that I wrote some notes which in a way could replace the book, because it would be useful for you to have something, a unique reference that I'm strictly following. I'm sorry, this is not possible for me, because every year I have to change the program of this subject for many reasons, which are not interesting for you to know. And also the next year the subject will be split in two, and therefore the next year again it will change. So I didn't have so far the conditions to, and this is the fourth year that I'm teaching the subject, to write notes. So I apologize for this, and I try to replace this lack of notes with the videos, and also by being extremely, this is my will, extremely clear when I teach, and by being extremely clear in what I ask at the final examination, therefore distinguishing what is the subject of the exam and what is the background information that I deliver to you because I think it's interesting and useful, but it's not asked at the exam. So I try to be extremely clear, and if you have any question on that, please feel free to ask me. Usually, I don't get many students at personal, I don't get many personal requests for clarification, just because I think this is my interpretation, because I try to be very, very clear and very, how to say, very basic in what I do. And I think this is the reason why I don't get many requests. But if you have some requests for me to clarify some subjects, or again, if you have some doubts on what could be the topics that you have to better study for the exam, you just have to ask me. It's not a stupid question for me if you ask me, do you ask at the exam this subject, this particular topic? It's a perfectly reasonable question. Usually you don't need to ask this because I will be clear in saying what I'm asking to you and what is, as I said, the information, the additional information that I'm providing for the sake of giving to you a larger and broader knowledge of the topic. Okay, now, during these lectures, I will make some practical activity. And practical activity, I mean exercises at the PC, because usually hydrology and water resources management don't require a project, a design, in the strict sense. You don't need to make drawings usually. What you do usually is calculation, computation in order to estimate how much water is available for a specific use, etc. And these are things that can be well simulated on the PC. So basically, I will dedicate a substantial amount of time, in my mind is about 20 hours, to working on the PC. And what I will do is to teach to you some programming languages. I will be more clear in a moment. And develop with you some exercises. These exercises could end up with a final report. So you may prepare, you will see what kind of exercises I'm proposing, but you may prepare at the end of the course a final report on the exercises just by putting together the drawings that the graphs that we will prepare, and by putting together the calculus, the computations, etc. And some students do that. Now, let me be clear in saying that this is not required, and you are not required even to attend these practical hours. Let me say that you are not required even to attend this whole subject. It doesn't make any difference for me when you come at the final exam if I already met you or not. And don't misunderstand me, I'm very pleased if you attend the lectures, but very pleased. But I also want to make you comfortable in saying that if you have some clashes, if you have some problems, you don't have to be concerned. I think it's just enough that you take the notes from a colleague, because this is the best way to study my subject, to take the notes that were taken during the lectures. And I think it's just enough. You don't need really to be here. As I said, I'm very pleased because it's a pleasure for a professor to teach in front of as many students as possible. But on the other hand, I want to make you comfortable. And in particular, if you decide to attend only the theory and not the practical exercises, it's not a problem. Usually I tell you in advance, because I will ask you in advance to bring your personal PC with you, because it's a problem for me to have access to the lab. And therefore, the ideal situation for me is if you bring your personal computer with you. And basically, it's not required that every student has a computer. It could be one computer for 2 students, this is fine. But I hope that you don't have any problem in satisfying these requirements, and also the battery can last for a couple of hours, so it's not a big problem if we are in a room that really doesn't help with electrical connectivity. And let me say that this week I would like to do that on Friday, for instance. So Friday morning I would like to dedicate the 2 hours to start with the exercises. So who has problems in bringing a personal PC with him, her? There are some problems for you? Just to know.
I think for the plug for electricity, because for example my computer,
the battery
is very...
Okay. Okay, so let's solve the problem of the battery, but for the physical necessity of the PC is not a problem, correct? For nobody, okay. So I don't know, I don't remember in which room we are on Friday morning. I have to check. So maybe you can tell me. 2.3. 2.3. I don't know. Because I have to, of course, the easiest way is to take what we call a ciabatta, a big ciabatta, and bring the ciabatta in the middle of the room. So I have to check in advance. 0.5 should be nice, should be okay. Yeah, because they have the plugs in the desk side. Okay, so let's say that for Friday we are okay. Okay. And again, about the report, the final report of exercises, some students do that. And it is not absolutely not required. If you do that, what I do, because I want to make a real difference between students that bring the report and students that do not. But what I do in order to recognize the fact that you put some effort in it, what I usually do is to start with my first questions from the report. Which means that the first question is usually well known, because you will see the exercises focus on a very few topics. And therefore, if you know that the first question is on these very few topics, it's an advantage for you, especially if you are the kind of person that at the beginning is a bit nervous. Usually, I make you comfortable, but in any case, it could be, you know, an advantage to know that I'm starting from that. Again, I should say that about only 5%, maybe less, of the students usually bring a report to me. And when this happens, I ask you for a question on that. Okay, and I mentioned that I am also teaching to you a programming language. Now, the programming language that I adopt for my lectures is R. Do you know it? No? Okay. R has a big advantage, that is free. And it's open source and therefore free. And R is very similar to MATLAB. I would say that if you have some knowledge of MATLAB, this knowledge can be extended easily to R. But R has the advantage of being free, and in terms of availability of programs, is much better than MATLAB. Of course, in the network you can find on the web also many MATLAB programs, but R is much better. And being open source, I think it will increase even more. So I suggest you, not I suggest, I require you to make an effort to learn R, because it's really, I think it's emerging. And how you can download R, it's very simple. The site is www.rproject.org. Let me see if I can get there. So, okay, here it is. So this is the website. You see that there is a link to download. And if you click on download, you get the files for download for the different platforms, Unix, Windows, etc. It's very easy to install. I kindly ask you to install it before Friday, and to come Friday with R installed. And besides downloading the file, you may downloading the installation files, you may decide to download some introductory guide. There is a link to documentation somewhere here, manuals, and under manuals there are some guides and some manuals. Some of them are very thin and some are very thick. I suggest you to take the thin ones if you take one. Strictly speaking, you don't need any manual because I will introduce R to you myself. But of course it's useful for you if you want to complete your experience, refer to a manual. And the manuals that are given here are very well done. To install R under Windows is extremely simple. To install R under Linux is a bit more complicated, but it's also true that usually Linux users are a bit more experienced than Windows users. So, if you have Windows, I am sure that you don't have any problem. If you have Linux, as I hope, and as I hope for you, then you may have some problems, and then you can discuss on Friday. Okay? And we'll talk later about Windows, Linux, and the differences. And what could I say? If you try to start R, you get a bit depressed because it's not user-friendly. So don't start it, okay? We will start it together because it appears in the